What comes first? Winter or summer? Spring or autumn? There seems to be a great big hole in all of the conversation in Glasgow, or the climate change gabfest, about what to do about winter. Winter's not going away. There seems to be no conversation in regards to the suffering people will have in places like America if they reduce the energy available to keep people warm in winter. Because these winters are not going away. Global warming, it seems to be, have got people's in their head, it's in the head, and they seem to forget that winters can be terribly cold and they kill people. And there's no avoiding winters. And we can predict in a way how severe winters can be. And that's not difficult as it sounds because it depends on how much moisture's in the air caused by whatever it is that causes the more moisture in the air. That moisture is conveyed to the Antarctic, or in the southern hemisphere to the Antarctic. When it goes up to, let's say, the northern hemisphere, we focus on this because that's where most people will suffer from bad winters. It is conveyed, it's called the equatorial conveyor, and it conveys the moisture into the north, and it builds up over the north, and that's why there's snow deposited over the centuries on all the Arctic and in the Arctic Circle. But the thing about this is, when there's more moisture in the air, as there's been in recent this year, that moisture's still in the air, but it turns into snow and ice in the air. And when it comes back down, when the earth tilts away and it starts getting darker in the north, and it can't heat up the sun's rays and not as strong, it can't heat up the atmosphere as much, that turns into sleet, ice, and hail and snow, and will come down and make it extremely uncomfortable and extremely cold, especially in North America, which is directly connected through Canada into the Arctic regions. There's nothing impeding the flow of cold Arctic blasts coming down all through America. Now the Chinese know this. That's why they can't agree with coal. We're getting rid of coal just now because there's no alternative when you've got millions and millions of people who need to keep warm in winter. They're not going to freeze them to death because of some people, rich people in Glasgow, are crying about climate change, but not one person. It's a waste of time in a way, because it's going there having this talk about making pledges and stuff like that. But as it is, there should be a coordinated, a cooperative approach between all get the right people in. Maybe they're all the wrong people going there. The people want to scream about them, get on the news of what they've said about climate change, action and all that. Well, what is the action? What prevents people freezing in winter? The idea of global warming seems to have taken their mind off the fact each year there's a terrible winter in the north of the world, in the northern hemisphere, because the bulk of the population are affected because of direct connection to the Arctic Circle and the land masses up there, which is different to the Antarctic. So there's a different climate zone. There's two climate zones on Earth. There's the Antarctic zone and there's the Arctic zone in the north. And there's no one can say there's not, because there actually definitely is. Because the way the pole, all the equator, all the currents, the wind and the sea, ocean currents and everything else. I've got a bush attacking me. But all those mean there's a difference between the Antarctic climate and the Arctic climate. But I'm not going to go into that just now. But I'm surprised no one in this Glasgow meeting has mentioned that the amount of people that will suffer in America because of reduction in energy, trying to stop global warming, means they're going to really suffer from global cooling, annual global cooling, which is winter. And it's not going to go away because it's dark. As I said, it's dark in winter. When it's dark, it's minus. When it's minus, water freezes. The air freezes. Air's full of humidity and it freezes into snow. And what's going to happen, it's easy to predict when you get a warm spell in the tropical Cancer or round in the southern areas. That warm spell then is taken up on a sort of conveyor. It's called equatorial conveyor, and it's taken up into the north in a kind of a spiral effect, depending on how the Earth's spinning. And it's taken up to the north and deposits around the Arctic Circle area. If there's a warm spell around Cancer or in the lower latitudes, that warm air will then go up to the Arctic, disturb all that cold air and cause a massive cascade to cause that cold air, dense cold air to collapse and really hammer America this year to a great deal. It will hammer China as well, but China's have taken provisions they want to keep the people warm. America wants to seem to make its people cold. It might want to stop global warming, but each winter's not going to be stopped for a very, very long time yet. It seems to have been taking the mind off people's idea that there's winter. No, it's not going to go away. And it's very sad that no one in Glasgow, not one person, even famous Sir David Attenborough, didn't mention winter. How are the people going to deal with winter when there's no energy to keep them warm? Because these people are all very, very wealthy. It's not going to affect them no matter what happens to the climate. If they're wealthy, they can go and live in the tropics. They all do. They live in the tropics because they want to escape the cold. Why do they want to escape the cold? They'd rather be warm. And it makes it very strange that people want to escape the cold when they get older and rich and retire in the Bahamas or something like that. But read why they've got rich and want to escape the cold. Because the cold is the hardest thing to deal with. You can prepare for the heat, providing you've got water and food, but you cannot prepare for a severe cold if you haven't got energy to keep yourself warm, food and shelter. And it's about time someone had an intelligent conversation about climate change, what considered the people, not just the celebrities and the politicians and the financiers behind this, or saying things what, geographically speaking, don't actually make sense. Yes, we're going to have climate change. It will not stop winters happening for many, many years yet, and we can predict now winters will be more severe from now on because of more moisture in the air from now on, even if it's caused by global warming. Then if you're not making provision for that, then there needs to be another gabfest in somewhere. We'll get experts in to discuss how to do this so that people aren't deprived of energy and heat in winter. Because otherwise, the whole thing is against human interest.